Hi there, I'm the Extraordinary Tourist, and in this video I'm going to be painting a series of 3 cat-themed paintings. So here you can see the 3 sketches that I did that I'm going to be basing my paintings upon. Obviously the 3 are the 2 on the left and the 1 in the middle at the bottom. You can see my canvases, if I pull out here, are actually 3 different sizes. So what I'm hoping is whoever buys these canvases would sort of buy all 3 as a set and would hang them sort of side by side in a sequence going from big to small. All of my paintings are done using acrylic paints, and what I'm showing you here is the paints that I actually use. As you can see, I only ever buy the primary colours plus white and black, and this is partly to save on the cost of paint, but also I just find it much easier to sort of mix my colours as I need them rather than going out and buying a whole tube of paint just for small areas that I might use on some painting somewhere. I find if I stick with the primary colours, then it's actually a better use of my paint, and I know I'm going to use all of the paint that I buy, and it's not going to be sitting in the tube for months or years or whatever going bad. So the first thing I do when I start a painting is I get my red, which I consider to be like a mid-tone in my paintings, and grab myself a brush, and I use that red colour just to draw my initial underdrawing that I'm going to paint. I don't draw on the canvas in pencil or anything like that anymore. I just get straight into it and start painting the actual character that I'm going to paint. And I pretty much sketch with the paintbrush as well. I'm not too concerned if I don't get it exactly the same as the drawing, because this is pretty much just the underdrawing anyway, and chances are it's going to change quite a lot over the course of actually creating the painting. So and you'll notice I use sort of chisel head brushes, which are ideal for acrylic paints. I don't use expensive brushes, pretty much get the same sort of cheap brushes that come from my local art store, because I find the way I paint just wears down a brush really quick anyway, and it's just not worth buying expensive brushes just to have them wear down incredibly fast. So that's my painting drawn onto my canvas just using the red paint. As you can see here, I've drawn all 3 of my canvases at the same time, and I'm sure if you go back and compare these drawings on the canvases to the sketches you saw at the start, I'm pretty certain you'll see a few changes based on whether I got the composition on the canvas right to start with, or whether I had to change something just to try and balance out how each cat ended up on the canvas, because obviously if you're drawing directly in paint, it's very hard to rub out and start again from the beginning if you start in the wrong spot right from the get-go. But all in all, I think I've got pretty close to the sketches that I started out with. The next thing I do is take what's left of my red paint and I use it to create or block in where all of my mid-tones on an image are going to be, and I usually make a decision about how I'm lighting each thing. And in general I light my cats sort of from the top off to one side, which is what you would expect if they were being lit by sunlight or a room light from overhead. So that's the way I consider my lighting, and I use my red to fill in anything that I think will be a mid-tone, and also use it to bring in a border. And normally I would have masking tape around the edges of my canvas so that I'm not painting right up to the edge, because I don't usually like to do that, but I thought for a change I'd go right to the edge of the canvas to sort of maximise the area that I'm actually painting on, with these being fairly small canvases. So you'll notice a lot of my artworks don't have much in the background, and that's largely because backgrounds, or painting backgrounds, doesn't interest me a lot. My work is all about the actual characters that appear, not so much the backgrounds. And also it just makes it a lot quicker to do pictures if I'm just painting the characters themselves. But yeah, the main reason is that I don't like painting backgrounds. Here you can see I've finished my red mid-tones. I haven't really done much mid-tone on the cats themselves at this stage, and I think I might come back a bit later and add a bit more red to them. The next stage from here is to grab my yellow paint and block in areas that are pretty much highlights, but not completely white highlights, sort of slightly duller than the really white highlighted areas. So here I go with my yellow, and you'll notice I'm not being very particular or very careful, and that's really because this stage of the painting, it's really just creating like an underpainting to sort of show where various highlights and midtones, and when I get into the blue, the shadows are going to be. By the time I've finished this work, a lot of this early underpainting you probably won't even see. So what it actually does is some of the colours that I'm putting on now will sort of show through and affect the later layers of colours that I put on here, but also the texture of this paint that I'm putting on will push through into the upper layers too, and will give the whole artwork a more textural feel than what it would have, say, if I painted the way you see a lot of painters paint, which is they'll sort of draw their image and then sort of colour it in just by sort of colouring in regions, which is not the way I paint at all. I like my paintings to really look like paintings rather than sort of photographic works, or sort of very polished and clean. surfaces like with no texture whatsoever. That's the 3 paintings now with the yellow added. Previously I had to wait a little while for my red to dry before I added the yellow, otherwise I would have got the red mixing in with the yellow too much and ended up with a whole load of orange instead of yellow. But because the yellow is much lighter than the blue, which I'm now going to put on, I can pretty much start adding my blue straight away. As you can see, it's all very loose and probably doesn't look like a whole lot in the way of being fantastic or amazing or anything, but that's how I always start my paintings, and by using this sort of technique I find I get a lot done quickly and it really gets me sort of off and running. There you have it, all 3 paintings with their blue shadow areas finished and pretty much their first undercoat done. So that's where I'm going to leave my work for today. I'm going to give my undercoats a good sort of 24 hours or so to dry properly before I start on the next layers. So far from drawing the sketches to where we're at now, I've been working for probably somewhere between 2.5 to 3 hours. So stay tuned for the next episode. If you can't find it, that means I haven't filmed it yet. Just give me a day or two and it should be up there. So till next video, we shall see you later. Bye for now.